What's happening?
There it is.
Super live.
John, why'd you make us live? Oh, hello, everybody.
Are we live? Oh, hello.
Hello.
I didn't see you there.
Hello.
Hooray!
Let me hit play and see if
Are we
it
live?
actually
Is this
shows.
what it's like to be on the other side? I don't feel very good because I don't have control of the button.
Still says waiting.
It
Don't have
does
to
live,
refresh things.
guys. It literally is live.
It is
know.
live.
I'm looking at the
It's quite live.
the viewers. Look,
It's pretty
every time
live.
this happens, I have to hit refresh or something.
Deeply live.
There it is. There we go. Working.
I would like to be able to automate more of this, so it would like start it up and pop out the chat and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I know. But that platform doesn't exist. It was
Hooray.
Hangouts.
Hello, everybody. A lot of people joining in.
Are we starting?
Yes, please, Scott.
Oh,
take us
I
away.
guess who starts? Hello. This is the ASP.NET Community Stand-Up. How's my hair? We have a special guest today. Hello, special guest.
Damien.
I'm not a guest, and I'm not special.
Not you.
Sebastian Ross. So,
Sebastian, I'm the guest.
Sebastian, is it Sebastien or is it like Sebastien or is it with a certain way to phrase it?
Damien calls me Seb,
I could call him Seb because I'm
which is
Australian.
a French way to call me actually. Friends call me Seb,
Oh,
but if you say it full, it's Sebastien.
Sebastien.
Jen.
So don't say it like this. Just say
I will.
Sebastian.
Okay, Sebastian. Is that better? Could you fix the microphone because Sebastian sounds far away?
That's because he's sitting far away.
That would
He
explain
needs to
why.
get cozier.
I talked to Damien.
He needs to get cozier.
all right.
So I have it. I think I have it set up in stereo mode. I think so. I should be coming from one side. He's coming from the other, or I don't, and I've got the wrong thing on the dial chosen. So,
Well,
let's try
he's
this.
talking in the butt of the mic, not the front.
How's that? Is that
1,
any
2,
different?
3.
Is that any different? I sound much worse now. That's terrible. Hang on.
Ah.
How about this one?
1, 2,
Is that any
3.
different?
I think the problem is that you're just turning the mic is you're talking in the back. The back.
How
front.
about omnidirectional? Is that better? It's now on the
I'm
full
here.
circle mode.
Yes.
Whatever. Who am I to judge?
We'll see. I won't talk. I
Wait,
won't talk.
who are you to judge? You literally just gave us 30 seconds of us telling us that.
Well, but you're not listening to me because the microphone you're talking into the back of it.
Okay.
Well-
We could do this, and then I could move it to him. And then as much as this might look like a studio, I don't have the ability.
You need multiple.
So
You need
I've-
drop downs.
I've already said too much.
It
Yes.
sounds better when I do this.
Hey, what do you guys think about some community links?
Of course we're live.
Let's do community links.
Sebastian just
Oh,
realized
out
that we're
there.
live.
Okay. Da, 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 da. Starting with Windsurfer.
Are you
He's a
controlling the
wonderful-
camera, by the way?
I am now. Yes. Good.
Just a little reminder there.
Okay. Hooray. Rick Strahl. He
I love
wrote. He
Rick.
wrote a book
Big
about.
fan. Rick is great.
Yeah, Rick is amazing. He wrote an entire book about .NET Core 2, ASP.NET Core 2. Tons of stuff in here.
Mhm.
He talked about what's great, what's not so great for him. So it's a very kind of honest overall thing. His overall thing is, hey, good outweighs the bad. Here's some stuff to be aware of, though. So just kind of some things to call out in here. He talked about differences in how things are packaged between .NET Core and with .NET Standard, moving to the meta packages. He talks about differences in publishing. I want to skip to some specific things in here. So pardon some rapid scrolling. We're just going by. He talks in here about easier startup configuration. We've mentioned that before, but it's nice here. He kind of gives some examples of things he's doing, services he's configuring, and how that simplifies things. He talks a little bit, this iRouter service. So some cool stuff in here. It talks about how you can use iRouter service to do, just very quick inline responses. And a cool application of this that he shows here is for Let's Encrypt. So Let's Encrypt requires a challenge response, and so he shows how that's a 5-6 liner. He covers HTTP sys support, and then Razor pages, and then kind of ends up his some frustrations he calls out here is slower build runtime and slower editing in Visual Studio, and then just overall he says, hey, much more good than bad. He's a big fan.
I thought it was a very fair rundown.
Yeah.
Rick is nothing if not fair.
Yep.
And so his criticisms are completely and utterly warranted. and we are working very hard on what we call the in-loop experience. That is the editing and debugging and launching and testing experience for developers as part of the next release.
All right, I'm going to remind our director, be sure to control the camera.
I am.
We are nothing if not completely professional on this show. So yeah, I thought it was a very fair review. He covers a lot of the great stuff that we worked on and some of the things that we unfortunately haven't made great improvements on yet, but we are working very hard on those things, and we hope, or we fully intend, I should say, for the next version to solve those problems once and for all. So
cool. All right. So next is Eric Anderson walking through deploying Identity Server to Azure. So relatively straightforward here, talking about, setting up the configuration, what you have to do as far as, a database, et cetera, and then deployment to Azure. But, neat walkthrough here, plenty of screenshots. So cool to show how, and then once you've got that there, setting up identity application, Azure config and stuff. So cool stuff. Andrew Locke, we have him here all the time because he's awesome. So here he's talking about ASP.NET Core Identity Password Hasher. So explaining what password hashing is, that you're not actually storing passwords in the database, you're storing a hash. But then he goes in, digs into exactly how the hashing works, what the interface is, and talks about the how it's set up. Some interesting things in here as far as there are different hashing modes. And he talks about how there's a byte, the first byte kind of indicates whether it's the V1 or V2. So cool stuff.
Interesting. I would be remiss if not to remind people that we strongly recommend that while this is an excellent academic exercise, just leave it to us to do the hashing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's great to learn how this stuff works, but don't roll your own.
Yeah. Yep. That's true. And yeah, I mean, this stuff here is complicated, right? I mean, setting the right things, and this has been looked at by people and it's supported and all that. So yeah, I definitely see this as interesting to know about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's a quick one, but very useful. So Atif Aziz posted about this, and it's something I actually needed to use this past weekend, and I checked it out. So this is High Five, and if you've used something like HTML Agility Pack, something to parse HTML. This is an HTML parser for .NET Core. So pretty cool. So it has things like, being able to read in a string, you can read it from a URL, parse it, you can, go through the nodes, etc. And digging into it a bit, this is built, it's a port from Parse5, which is a JavaScript. Cool. Yeah, so Parse5 is a JavaScript, it's actually written in TypeScript, so it makes it relatively straightforward to port. So
I remember there were things back in the day that were like was it SGML parsers, like poorly formed HTML, and we had a ton of crap. I'm glad that that's been solved and there's a nice clean way to do it. You know what I mean? Nice.
It's interesting. He hasn't implemented all of it yet that's in Parse5. To my understanding, like for instance, there's a Sax parser. This brought back memories. Sax parser is a streaming parser. So I'm interested to see what kind of he rolls in here. But yeah, this is definitely, if you need to parse HTML, don't write your own regular expressions, please. Like this is a nice thing, and it's plenty of tests in here and all that. So
cool.
Good stuff. Hisham writing about uploading files in Razor pages. So he takes, Damien, he takes your Razor page sample, and then adds in, we'll skip to the end here, adds in photos. So the ability to upload a photo. Yeah.
That's cool. I think we actually have a doc that's either being written or was written or specifically around this example, because not this example, but this scenario, I should say.
Oh, okay, cool.
Of how to do file uploads. I thought it had actually already been published. And that's good. So like there might be two things you can look at now, because that was one of the early feedback we got was like, yeah, Razor page summary doc was nice, but then where's the scenario based doc? And one of the first scenarios people asked about was file upload. So
yeah,
good.
Yeah. Very cool. So here he's showing.
I haven't read this one, so it's probably worthwhile us having a. This is an area where a lot of people get into trouble, where they do something naive, in want of a better word, because they don't know any better, and then they end up opening like a massive security hole in their site. So you have to be very careful when you process file uploads.
where you upload the file to and all, because
that's one of many things you have to care about. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, yeah, there's DDoS and all kinds of stuff, right? Yep. Okay, the last thing I wanted to point out here, this is actually a .NET framework. So this is not ASP.NET Core necessarily. This is ASP.NET 4.7.1, but this is something that Jeff Fritz pointed out to me recently, which solves some solves some problems. So the main thing that's interesting to me here is configuration builders. And one problem it solves is, say for instance, you want to Dockerize a web forms app, or a .NET ASP.NET MVC5 app or something, and you want to pull your configuration from environment variables. And so this is a class that you wire up in your web config, and you say override the local configuration using this class, and then the class will, when it's called to load configuration, it will say, oh, go get from environment variables, or go get from key vault, or whatever. So this is kind of an interface where you can build your own. And then going forward, there's going to be some that are provided too. So pretty cool.
It's kind of funny to remember that .NET Framework has always only had static configuration.
Yeah.
Like forever. And that was one of the first things we solved when we built ASP.NET Core, was we built a new configuration system. And now that inspiration has moved its way back, because now that people are trying to, like you said, trying to move .NET Framework-based apps into cloud-based environments or containers, then the same concerns come up. And so they've added this feature in 4.7.1 that lets you basically makes configuration mutable. So
yeah, pretty cool. And as he was explaining it to me, that was kind of when my light bulb went on. I was like, oh, this is basically giving me a lot of the goodness, or the workflow that I use in ASP.NET Core. This allows me to do that with ASP.NET too. So, and then there's some other kind of, there are some other features in here: control of the ASP.NET execution step, HTTP cookie parsing, and then support for SHA-2 authentication credentials. So neat stuff. But so yeah, the main one that kind of comes to mind there is that configuration builders. Pretty neat.
Can I ask one of my legendary ignorant questions?
Yes.
Thank you, Damien, for your vote of support there.
Did I not mute?
I forgot to mute that when I laughed at Scott. What was it was SHA-1 that was broken, right?
Yes.
And what does that mean to, like, do .NET Framework apps that exist from years ago, like if someone's got a .NET 4 app, like maybe a blog, like mine,
yes,
and they've done nothing to think about this. They haven't rewritten anything. Did I get an update at some point that fixed all that for me, or am I still using bad stuff?
No, because it breaks compat. We can't suddenly change the default crypto algorithm used. Otherwise, everything you have that's encrypted will no longer work. And
existing
so the
if I in fact
existing stuff. So the defaults are still SHA-1 for things like storing when the passwords are stored inside the web.config file, for when you're doing that very old sort of users in the web.config file model. You have to change it. Yeah.
What about like hashing view state and stuff like that?
All that stuff got fixed, because you don't interact with those things directly. So where I guess the way I'd phrase it is where it's a closed loop, where like we encrypt and or hash something in order for us to read it again, we changed those defaults a while back.
Okay, that's what I was looking for. So for me with DOS blog, I don't store anything using your hashes. I only use hashed stuff indirectly through things like ViewState and ViewState Mac.
Right, correct.
You fix those for me on some patch Tuesday, and I remain
right. Now, I will say that things like you bring up something like ViewState Mac, ViewState User Mac, which is a probably lesser known feature, but is critical to properly securing a web forms application. Or
I know that.
We didn't put that in the templates for file new until VS 2012. I know because Levi and I wrote it. And so that feature has been there for a long time, but it was disabled by default. Like you have to always do work to wire up the ViewState User Mac correctly. That code has only been present since the VS 2012 in the templates. So if you have something very old, you might want to go back and do a file new of a system web app, a web forms app specifically, again since then, and just look at the code that's in the master page of those templates where it sets it up correctly.
Good deal. Cool. Thank you for answering that question.
You are more than welcome, Scott.
Appreciate that. Very kind.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, good deal.
Back to you, John.
I'm all done. I'm out.
Losing mutual respect.
So why don't we pass? Why don't we jump over to Sebastien?
Jump over me. Yeah.
What is Sebastian here to talk to us about today?
I don't know, John. Why you
Well,
call me?
so Sebastian, and that concludes today's.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah. So what I had asked, or what I'd recommended, you got the mic, so you can do whatever you want, I guess. But
You just brought him here to talk about random stuff.
yeah, he's actually going to do some freestyle raps. No, so
Just French one.
the two things, you know, one kind of an update on Orchard Core,
Yep.
and then two was there's some really cool stuff in there that is very modular, and you can pull in these cool features that are used in Orchard Core, but you can actually pull them into ASP.NET Core applications, things like PO file localization, a bunch of other stuff. And so those are the two things I was most interested in. And then, like I said, Sebastian's got the mic. He can take it where he wants.
Yeah, just stop me. Do you have 2 or 3 hours? I can last longer, but okay, will be. Yeah, so I just mentioned I've been working in all the community also hard on Orchard Core, which is a redevelopment of Orchard CMS on .NET Core. But it's not just a CMS. We ship 2 different things with Orchard Core, which are first a modular and multi-tenant framework for ASP.NET Core, and second, a CMS, Orchard Core CMS, which is using this modular and multi-tenant framework. So what I can do is show you how first to build modular and multi-tenant application with ASP.NET Core. Okay, that's a solution to build modular applications, but I think it's a nice one, and I assume you will like it too if you have never seen that. So I need to share my screen, obviously. Let's try that. Just tell me when you can see it.
People are asking you to be louder. Again.
Louder?
So you need, John, did you pick his screen then?
I did.
I think I can see something. If can you see everything? So just to show you how to build a standard modular application with Orchard Core, I will just create a new web app. So I will just do web ASP.NET Core application in my temp folder and empty one. So you will see you absolutely need nothing special, just one package or 2. And here, if I just run it, it will show the usual hello world. Okay, I want to make it a modular app. So a modular app is a web application that will be based on different modules. In this case, a module is a class library. Okay, and using a module will be as simple as referencing a class library or a NuGet package. So this web app, first goal is to move this thing like hello world into a separate module. So what I will do is create a new project, which will be a class library, and I will call it module 1. And this thing, to be a module, to behave as a module, will need to reference a specific NuGet package that we have on nuget.org and also myget for different versions. But here I will just call on nuget.org. It's called orchardcore.module.target. So you're actually marking this class library as a module. And I will install that. Now I can have this thing as a module. What a module is like a mini app. So like any ASP.NET Core application, it will have a startup class. So I will rename this class to startup. It won't prompt me to rename it, so startup. And it could implement iStartup or startup base. I will use startup base, which is in our namespace. And here I can do, like any startup application, I will do a configure and register the same middleware as my app. I will actually move it there. Okay, so it's like a mini web app, but it's a class library. So this one is done. And I need a namespace. And now this one will also reference a NuGet package, just marking this thing as a host for modules. And the same way, I will just reference Orchard Core. And this time it will be application. I could select application targets, but I will create an MVC app. I will show you. It's like modular MVC app. And you can have also Nancy modular application app that we made for you. So this one is just a an application target that will make this web app a host for modules, and also reference an MVC module, because in this case, MVC will be brought by a specific module for MVC. And this package references it too. So I will select this MVC target, application MVC target. Done. And in the startup, instead of calling the middlewares, I will just say services.add modules to enable all the services from the modules, or to be able to run the modules, and then app.use modules. And this app now is modular. What I haven't done so far is just tell that the web application is made of this module. So I will reference my module 1 from the web application, and I have modularized web application. So let's see if it builds. It builds. Oh, I didn't do something because I found out the bug right before with application insights. Maybe Damien knows why, but I need to register a custom service since the latest version of Application Insight, which is try add singleton. Otherwise, Application Insight will fail. It's JavaScript encoder.
Well, this shouldn't be required.
Well,
I don't know what this is.
It's very new for me because it was working.
You're using 2.0 for everything?
Yes, everything.
So when it's new, you mean you just moved to 2.0?
I mean, I discovered that very, very recently, like this afternoon. Before I had no issues at all, and now I need to do that. And I found an issue on GitHub with so okay. It's a new update on Application Insight 2.1, something like that, broke this thing. So, well, it should be fixed. Apparently, it's fixed in 2.x, but let's see. So now it should just work. It's my default application. I will just run it. So in theory, you don't need that, but there's a bug somewhere. And this application works like the standard application. I assume you can see that. Hello world, because this thing was given from this module. So now to split your application in physically, you can just create new projects and reference them. And this project can just be also NuGet package. So if I just right click and pack it and push it on NuGet package, anyone can use this module as part of their application as long as they are a modular app using this application targets package. And to show you what you can do further, I will create another module, which will be an MVC module. An MVC module will be able to have controllers, but also views. So this is something very, very important when you want to build MVC applications, to be able to split your application and your views and your static assets in different packages. So same thing, I will just create a new project. It will be module 2. Sorry, I'm not very original. Module 2, net class library, okay. And this one will reference MVC because I want to create a controller.
Why do you have NuGet warnings everywhere?
Sorry. Why do I have NuGet warning everywhere? Yeah, why?
OBJ folder.
That's not my product. That's your product.
VS has updates and you haven't applied them yet.
Because it works and I don't want to break it. I want the new.
Well, it doesn't work. You've got errors. I'm just going to derail you completely because I can't stand the fact that you're just ignoring. This is something that PMs here always really hate about the developers. The developers just work around the issues and ignore them, and then
it's
they don't
funny
get fixed because we don't even know that they're there.
So
like
I've been staring at his dependencies being banged out there, and it's been bugging the heck out of me. I'm like, how are you functioning right now?
Yeah, here's the OBJ folder is showing up. That's not supposed
unacceptable.
to happen.
Why? Yeah, why? Why is it?
I don't know. Like, apparently, you just let it wash over you.
Let me fix it. Let me fix it. Okay, fixed.
But your OBJ folder is showing. That's like that will never be okay.
That's indicative of some real problem.
So I could explain you, but we don't have the time.
Okay.
I blame myself.
I will explain you offline. I will explain you offline.
Okay.
Don't worry. But that's.
And I will tell them online.
Okay, quickly. We generated a file for you so that you don't have to do that. And because we generated it, Visual Studio sees it and adds it to the solution here. But you should not care about it. It's advanced usage. Later. Next step. Next week, I come back and I show you. So here, same thing. Do I need actually a startup here? I'm not sure. I don't think I need a startup here. So I won't create a startup. Let me keep it this way. And what I want is just, this is module 1, and here I just want a controller. I will copy it from sample because you don't need to see the full thing. Here, controllers, and views, and I will show you what it is. Super simple controller, home controller, index, call the view. And this one is a view, which just says, hello from module 2. Okay, very simple. But inside a module. So it's a controller and a view inside a module. And I need to reference the NuGet package to make it a module.
We have a question from Eugene.
Go.
Eugene would like to know, are the modules added dynamically at runtime?
No, sir. They used to be in the first versions of Orchard Core, but so many issues with support for dynamic loading, and all the context and everything that we stopped doing that. And actually, it's also better to be able to support NuGet packages, and so we don't support dynamic loading. At the same time, in Orchard 1, we do support dynamic loading, but we tell people don't do that because actually you don't do that. You don't need to enlist for a new module while your app is online. Like, Scott, you will not go to your blog and say, oh, let me enable this module now live. No, you test it and then you deploy it and you ensure. So that's also not too bad, I would say, to not allow dynamic loading, but issues. So module 2, I referenced that. It's good. Let me see if I build it. Oh, there's an object folder. It's a manifest file. If you have it in your project, it won't try to create it and won't appear in object folder. And now I just need to reference it from my web application, which is an MVC modular application. Remember, I referenced the application.mvc.targets, and that should work. Let's try it. Must have missed something, but I think it should be that easy. So now if I go to / oh, that won't work. Let me show you. It won't work because this module, the first module, has a middleware that intercepts everything. So I just need to map it to a custom URL. So app.map. map / hello and this. So now this module will only respond to / hello, and this module will deploy a controller and a view. So let me run it again. I should see a 404 on the home page because there is a more home page, but yeah, exactly. But now if I do module 2 / home / index, I have my view coming from my second module. And you see there is no layout. So what you can do and what you should usually do is that your modules don't define the layout, usually, but you will have your web app hosting the modules, defining the layout. This way you can have reusable modules that don't enforce anything about your theming, but your app will enforce the theming. So in this case, I will just pick up samples, modular. I will pick up these files, the views, view import, and view start. I will show you what they look like. They're actually the default templates from Visual Studio. And the view start just says layout equals layout CSHTML in the shared, which is a standard layout file in the web app. And when I run that again, and I go to module 2 home index, so the view from the module is rendering inside the layout for the web app. And I can still go to hello and hit middleware that is coming from my first module. Okay, that's a modular app. And I think that was simple enough for anyone to reuse that, to do that.
So the idea
Questions?
there is I can package up, like you're showing controllers, views. I could put that potentially in like a NuGet package, and then someone else can pull that in and it shows up inside their site.
Obviously.
Using the same layout.
Yeah, so that's the goal also, that developers, ASP.NET Core developers, can build ecosystems of modules that they will be able to use to compose their apps. And when I say ecosystem, it's very important because, for instance, Orchard Core CMS is an ecosystem of modules or packages that we can use to build editable, administrable websites. But anyone can create another ecosystem, like my own blog ecosystem with blogging modules, with a specific namespace on NuGet, for instance, and you know that all these packages, they work for your ecosystem with everything. And anyone can enhance then the ecosystem with their own packages. And they will all, and this is doable today with this thing. This is on NuGet.org. So you can do that. And this is what we do for Orchard Core CMS. We made an ecosystem of modules, which I will show, and just referencing one package will let you have a CMS, and referencing another package add new features and share them on NuGet galleries, MyGet galleries, everywhere. Or even locally in your own company, you can create your solution with lots of projects and modules or different solutions, and different teams can create different parts of the application. We know some users, even for Orchard One, were doing that. We're using Orchard CMS just for the modular part of that, so that they can split teams into building different modules, different part of the application. And you saw like this module one doesn't have to know about the layout or the views, and same thing for this thing. So you kind of work in isolation from the other modules. You just share your contracts, your common contracts. An ecosystem is a set of contracts to build extensibilities. So just to jump on your question, let me create a CMS with just one package. So I will create a new web app, and it will be a web core, and I will call it my site. That's it. Empty web app. And I select empty web app. I could pick any web app and just do the add thing and the use thing, and it will work. So this web app here will have no logging, or will it? No, just no logging, but I could add logging. I could add my own configuration as long, well, where is my site here? As long as I use the correct host for modules and the correct modules, they will just enlist in the middlewares and enlist the services. So here I will just add a NuGet package, which is orchardcore.cms application. That's the convention. So Orchard Core, then application or module, based on what, if you're an application to host modules or a module, and then dot, and you can see here the example I gave you. So we have MVC, we have the simple target, CMS. We also have a Nancy one if you want to create one. But I will take the CMS this time. So it's just one NuGet package on the NuGet gallery. Okay. I will reference it. This is a module. But this module, like ASP.NET Core.all, is a meta package. It references all the packages that you need, all the modules that you need for to run the Orchard Core CMS. And all these packages are just modules that will build up the application. So my site now has a reference to that. And the only thing I need to do is services.add. It's not just add modules, it's Orchard CMS, which calls Orchard model plus other services. But here in this case, I remove the middleware and I do app.use modules. Use modules. And with that, I have a CMS. Let's see. In this case, I don't need to reference to register the JavaScript decoder or encoder, the default, because the services inside Orchard CMS already do that because they do use MVC. So doing use MVC will actually. So here, you see, I just do add Orchard CMS and use modules, and I go to a web page, which is a separate page. And this thing is actually coming from a module which defines a controller and a view with this view and a layout and everything I showed you as a module, but it's mini MVC app just for the setup. And the setup will call into other services to combine data and other features and services to build a website. So here, if I go demo, I have recipes to define different types of website I want. So in this case, I will just take agency, which is a simple web agency website. I can use different databases, SQLite, SQL Server, MySQL, Postgres. I will use SQLite because this is the easiest. Table prefix is if you want multiple websites to run on the same database. So we will prefix the tables. And here, simple information to start up a new account. Finish setup. And when I click finish setup, you count to 4 or 5. and you get a website running. Okay, so I reference a package, added 2 lines of code, go through setup because I need to explain which kind of website I want. And this is a full website I can reuse right now. Deploy if you like the theme, and edit the content from that. And it just works. ASP.NET Core. I will show you the admin later to drill into the CMS, but I want to talk about why we do that and how we do that. And also other things. So I showed you how to make web applications with modules. Something also that the Orchard core framework does is support multi-tenancy. Multi-tenancy is a way to host multiple logical websites in the same application. So you deploy once, and you can reuse what you deployed as many times as you want. For instance, to host the same website or the similar website for many customers with different databases. You just update your app once, the code, and then you can have logical websites into one main deployment. So here, from just what we did earlier, if I take my web application 13 and set it as the startup project. So this application is running module 1 and module 2. Okay, and what I just need to do in my startup is, instead of, by default, there is one tenant. It's a virtual tenant. It's like, oh, I run the app. The tenant is the default tenant. There is no many tenant. There is just one. So it goes directly to this tenant, this configuration. But if when you do modules, you say c.with tenants, then it will look for some descriptors that will explain how many tenants and what they use. What they use is what modules they need, because all the modules are there, but you might want one tenant to use module 1 and the other one to use the 2 of them. And if you have like 100 modules, maybe each of them will have a different set of modules to use. So this guy by default will use all the modules available for everyone, but there are many ways to configure them. And just adding that and a file to describe tenants, which I will pick from this example. So this one might not work because I broke something earlier, but let's see if it works. If it doesn't work, I will point you to the samples which are on GitHub, and they will work. These ones work. So I just need to get the latest here, and that should solve my issue. Let's wait for it to restore. Should be done. So if I run it now, some web application with tenants. Okay, there is nothing here. Okay, if I go to /hello, there is no. It was working earlier, but now /hello doesn't work anymore. It's because in this tenants file, I described 2 different tenants. One I call Contoso and one I call Acme. One uses the request URL prefix Contoso and the other one Acme. So they're actually URL prefixes. So if instead of hello I do to Contoso like a virtual company hello, doesn't work. Okay. Oh, sorry, Contoso. Yeah, it works. So now I'm hitting the hello endpoint for the Contoso tenant with its own configuration, like its own connection string, its own database, its own theme, settings, modules, and everything. This one has the module 1 and module 2 enabled. Same thing for the other one, module 1 and module 2. So if I go to Acme, I actually go to another website with another configuration. It happens to be the same, but they can be completely different. And here, if I go to module 2 /home/index, it's still working, but in the context of the second website. And this thing, Acme, could be a domain like mybakery1.com and hit a specific database, and the other one, mybakery.2.com, and so on. So this is how you build modular application, just by configuring and saying, instead of having only one tenant, now switch or fork the pipeline of middlewares and configuration and services and apply different configuration for each of the sites. And based on the URL, resolve which site you want to actually display and use all these features. And so now if I just edit the tenants JSON and I remove module 1 from Acme, module 1 contains the middleware with the hello endpoint, and I run it again. It was too fast, I'm afraid it doesn't work. So if I go to acme/hello, something didn't stop and restart. Yep. Build. Five. Slow acme.hello. There is nothing, but if I go to contoso /hello, I have the module 1 able. So you see, you can configure what modules are available for each tenant and not just the modules.
Is there a significant like overhead to this as far as performance?
One overhead, which is for multi-tenancy, for instance.
Yeah.
There is one middleware in front of everything, which will just map, like route. It's like a router, a switch. Oh, what is the current URL? URL /acme. Okay, so we need to switch the container, the DI container, and the middleware pipeline to this one. It's like a map. It's exactly the same thing as map here. Okay, that's the same cost. Okay, and what we do is, instead of just routing to different middleware pipeline, because each tenant has its own middleware pipeline, we also swap the DI container, because each tenant also has their own services, their own configuration. Like I can configure Razor differently from one tenant to the other if I want. I don't want to, but you could. That's an example.
Wow.
You have another question from Eugene. Is the tenant configuration file also statically loaded at startup, or does it get dynamic? Can you dynamically add a tenant at runtime?
Yes. So I will show you that in the CMS then, because it's just a service. We have a service called the iSettings provider. Okay, iShell settings provider, and we have many implementation. One is based on this JSON file that is loaded once at startup, but we have one also based on database. You could have one based on blob storage. So you can define what are your tenants and how they are built based on whatever you want. So this example is static.
John, can you flip back to the screen, please, where everyone's looking at you, I think, or they asked.
Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this example is static. It's a static file. So we have called the file settings tenant manager, something like that. But if I go back to this application here, the CMS, okay, this CMS still works. No, I stopped the application, so let me restart it. So my site. So this again, when I went to the setup screen, it created one tenant, which we call the default tenant. But I can create more tenants. So let me show you. If I go to the admin, and to show you also that this tenant management is actually extensible, and we already have provider based on what we want to show. If I can type a password, yes, I can. So I won't explain what I'm doing, but let me see. Modules. Same thing for modules. You saw that the modules, they were defined in the JSON file. In the case of the CMS, well, our ecosystem for the CMS defined a module that will provide a way to manage tenants. So we have a module to manage the tenants of the application. And this module provides this view and integrates in this menu, because our ecosystem said, if you are a nurtured CMS module, you can integrate in the admin menu. Okay, I can do that. I know the contract. So there is a feature or module called tenants, and I will enable it. Enabling means change the configuration of the tenants and reload the tenant, not the app, just the tenant. Restart the container and the middleware just for this tenant. The rest is still working. And now, because I enable this feature, the tenants module appeared here in the navigation, because the tenants module provides tenant management and integrates in the admin. And I can see I have one tenant, and I will add a new one. This new one, I will call it blog. Create. Or I will create a new URL prefix. I could create a domain, okay, or URL prefix. I will call it blog. Created, but it's uninitialized. So if I go to the URL of /blog, which is a prefix I define, it will show me the setup screen for this tenant. You see, I am on /blog. If I go on / per se, I go on this default tenant, which is my previous website configured. If I go there, I go on another tenant, which is not yet configured. So I will call it my blog and say use the recipe blog, because I want a blog this time for this site. And I will still use SQLite, which is a different database. A new user, finish setup. And now I set up a new site on the same application. So my web application is running 2 sites now. So we reuse a lot of memory for that. So you can scale your hosting to lots of websites. Join knows the thing about that because this blog is actually hosted this way. And you see here I have a blog, and it was dynamic. I didn't restart the app at all. I just created a new middleware pipeline, registered it dynamically to the main middleware pipeline, and custom services, and that's it. You have a different theme, you have a different set of modules, because this one has a blogging module, this one has Markdown and everything, the other one doesn't have it, so it's up to you. And it's configurable live.
A couple more questions. I'm trying to pick the right one to do first. So Eugene wants to, I think, just wants to know a little bit more about the implementation in terms of the routing. Like, did you build a custom router that supports dynamic routing rules? You didn't use the router that we ship?
We use the default router that you ship, but we have a custom route class implementation that will dynamically look up for a dictionary of routes and bind the correct
so you have a greedy catch-all route.
It's like a dispatcher.
Yes. We're doing in the next version,
but a very small one.
So, but basically, you have a custom route that is greedy.
Yeah.
So it goes. Everything goes through it.
Yes.
Okay. Fair enough.
It's a fallback.
Yeah.
So if nothing specific.
Yeah. That makes sense. Let's have a look.
But that's,
Hisham wants to know: can you put Razor pages in a module?
Don't you know, Hisham, that we can? Yes, we can.
I don't know. He's asking.
Hisham,
maybe he's asking a leading question.
Thank you, Hisham. Yes, you can. So just by adding a default Razor page, it's available and it's part of the module. So modules can come with Razor pages.
Okay.
So for us, I think that's a very nice feature, because when you build a website, sometimes you don't want to go in the admin and do weird things to the simple page. Okay, you are usually blocked by CMSs. When you want to do simple things, you have to go to the complex way, and you don't want to do that. So Razor pages is very nice because you just go to your web app or any module, you create the file, run it, and it's there, and it will just work. You don't have to build anything; it will just be there.
Right.
So that's very important for CMSs, I think.
Cool. I have a question. What is the status of Orchard Core? I mean, you're showing us a lot of great stuff.
Yep.
This is not officially built by the ASP.NET Core team. It might be built by you. It's not officially built by this team, because I know, because I own the team. We don't officially support this, as far as I understand, and I'm not quite sure where you are in your timeline of schedule release and stuff.
So thank you for the question.
Yes.
Actually, we're currently working on releasing the first beta of Orchard Core, beta 1.
Okay.
And when I say working on that, max next week we'll have the public announcement. So John, it's already
can
returned.
You flip to the screen, please.
Yeah.
I think it's okay. No.
No, I'm looking at the. I'm being a customer, so I can see.
Yeah. So we have this an early preview of the release notes, the release announcement, explaining what Orchard Core is and for the beta 1. So it's already on NuGet.org since last week. So the packages are available. We are looking for the last mini bugs and experience tweaks. The release notes are ready. What we are just blocked by is some content like a video or tutorial to explain what to do next with the CMS. So we have a GitHub sample and tutorial for the modularity thing, and I will point you to it, and I'm sure John will share the link later. This is, where is that? Oh my God. I will find it. It's there for sure. Here, Orchard CMS / Orchard Core sample. So everything I showed you for modularity and multi-tenancy is there. It's a sample app and explanation on how to build new modules and new modular apps. Okay. This is not a CMS, just a modular thing. And now we need the same thing for the CMS part. So you are not like in the blind when you come to the CMS, you know how to use it.
Okay.
Once we have this tutorial, it's officially shipped as beta 1.
Okay.
We have a roadmap on our repository also. Maybe I think it's linked there with everything we've done over the past years and what's next for beta 2 and the RC and what we are missing, if you want to look into the details for the plan.
Okay.
And I work a lot on that, depending on the effort I am asked to put on other ASP.NET projects. But yeah, lots of people in the community are also working on that and love to do that. So
I think it's fair to classify this though as it's a community project.
Yes,
totally. It's heavily funded by you, who works on our team, including in work hours. That's part of what you do, but it's not part of the official ASP.NET Core stack, which includes like Microsoft support and things like that. Now, technically, any code that you use is supported in the sense that it's .NET code. So if there's a .NET problem, that's fine. But if you can't ring up product support services and say, I have a bug in Orchard specifically, it is a community project.
It is, and it's also it's a .NET Foundation project as well. Yeah.
Well, it brings up an interesting question, though, that have you, Damien, as the ASP.NET PM, ever seen the kind of stuff that Seb and friends do? And, you know, I don't know, like recoil in horror, or go, oh, wow, I had no idea you could do that. That is an incredibly clever way to do it. And how do you balance those things? Because you're on the same team, but at the same time, he's pushing the limits and doing interesting and creative stuff.
Yeah, both of those things.
How do you?
From the very beginning of Orchard, it's always been that way. There's always been like, oh my goodness, I can't believe you solved this problem that way. That's incredibly clever, but horrifying.
That's not clever and horrifying. That's disgusting, but there is no way.
Right, and so, I think there's less of that now in core. Sure. There was a lot more of that in the old system web / Katana stack. Like they registered a handler, they registered an IIS handler for the .cs proj extension. Correct. And so you would request CS proj from your IIS server and it would build it on demand.
Orchard 1,
in Orchard 1. Like these are, I'm just thinking of the things that I recalled in horror when I first saw it. Incredibly clever solutions, right? But like, oh my goodness. But I think Orchard Core is much less like that. Orchard Core has a lot of fantastic plug-in functionality. Just think of it as an umbrella. Like it's like saying Apache. Like Orchard just has a whole bunch of great stuff. You can plug in PIO file localization or modularity without ever thinking or getting close to a CMS or any of those type of things. And I think that's the big message that Seb has been really trying to push as part of Orchard Core is, hey, there's a lot of really great stuff in here that is higher level concern than a lot of the stuff the ASP.NET Core team ships, or maybe an alternate implementation to the core one that we ship. So we ship a regex file-based PO, a regex file-based locationalization service because that's what .NET uses. But we always intended to support other localization formats, but we just haven't been able to fund the full end-to-end, funding the solution to a full end-to-end experience. We wouldn't just ship a package. Like when we ship things, we tend to try and think about the end-to-end as much as we can. That Orchard has a whole bunch of stuff in it which you can use and augment just a traditional ASP.NET Core app and get great benefit out of, which I think is a message that's worth taking away.
It sounds like the things that they wanted to be able to do were possible only with creativity previously, and now because it's so configurable in core, they're like, okay, finally I can do this pluggable and appropriate and fit in. I
think more of it. I still think there are some limits. Like I'm sure Seb has come across some things where they've had to be inventive.
So we started Orchard Core with the .NET 0.8 like 2 years ago, exactly 2 years ago, exactly. And there are many things you could not do or were not possible, but hey, I still need it. So I will try to get around your limitations and do something. So we lost a lot of time, but it was also nice to have some feedback. So that's also part of my job, to test the limits and to give the feedback to the team and see how we can fix it before the public needs the feature. And so early feedback, actually. Like dynamic modules loading, well, we worked on it like for more than a year, didn't work. There were always issues, so we pushed the limit, but we could not do that. So okay, let's say that. But features like being able to reference NuGet packages and load views dynamically from a different folder, and then Razor Pages, when it first came in preview, I first tried to, I asked someone in the community actually to try to implement that in Orchard Core so we could have early feedback and see all the limitations for that, and give feedback to the team and to Ryan and everyone just to fix the issues that we found while running that. And I think they were interesting issues. So yeah, we are pushing the limits before even the public can see the bits or use the bits. Well, most of the people here.
No, that's true. I mean, I've complained extensively on this channel and in others that getting people to use our preview bits isn't ever, the numbers of people who use our preview bits versus who use our release bits is just, you can't compare them. But as you said, the Orchard has been taking preview bits, like even before they release, they often look at stuff straight off GitHub and give us feedback on things like Razor Pages was a particular one where we got very early feedback about things that they tried out that really should have just worked and they didn't, and so we fixed them. Whether they're things that we couldn't configure that you should be able to configure, or composition models that we perhaps just hadn't considered in the simplistic scenarios we were going for that would only require a little bit of work to support. So we got a lot of good feedback from that.
John, can you switch on my screen? I'd like to show also
Yep.
just a few projects that we have in the solution to give you an idea of also of what we do and why we do it. So this is the Orchard solution. As I said, it's an ecosystem of packages. We have 127 projects in this solution. Some of them are basic packages that provide features or abstractions and services, but these ones are modules, like stuff that you can build your app with, like the Lego block to build your app with. And I created two different folders, .modules and a .modules.cms. So these ones, they are very specific to the CMS ecosystem. So they all are here to provide a CMS feature, like liquid templates, Lucene engine for the search engine, Markdown management, media management, menu, you see templates, title, widgets, XML RPC to do Open Live Writer. So they are all CMS oriented. But these ones, they are, I would say, SaaS oriented, so software as a service oriented. You could use them in any application, even if you don't care about the CMS, like user management, theme management, tenants management, which I showed you the setup screen also, roles management, response cache, which is just, this one is super simple, the simplest ever, is just registering the response cache middleware as part of a module. So you can plug the response caching live in a running application. Resource management, John, you mentioned that, resource management and localization, which are stuff that the ASP.NET team doesn't have the resources to work on right now and to support. So we just made it. So you don't have the support for the ASP.NET team as a nice package, but you can use them in any MVC app. These are modules, but they are actually packages there. These modules are just a wrapper around the package to make them modules. And all these things here, they can be used anywhere in any app. So it's like a micro ecosystem where you could build on top of it to build, again, a CMS ecosystem or an e-commerce ecosystem, whatever you want.
How many interdependencies are there? Like if I pick a random one like Orchard Core dot, I don't know, recipes.
This one.
Orchard Core dot recipes.
Where is it? Yeah, this one.
Does it depend on other stuff in Orchard?
So we try to make our modules they don't depend on modules. There is no modules interdependency. Okay. There are logical dependencies.
Okay.
So that's, you remember the obj file, the obj thing, the module. This guy will tell you that this module depends on the features module and the scripting module. Okay. And if you don't have them, this module won't start up.
Oh,
because it requires
so there are dependencies.
Yeah, that's what we call logical dependencies.
Okay.
But we don't want modules to dereference each other so that you can update one without the other. And we have abstractions.
Understood.
We have abstractions.
But it is fair to say that sometimes when you choose a particular module, you have to get two other modules, for example, to have it work.
That's why I'm talking about layers, like the CMS layer will require most of these ones.
Okay. That's fair enough.
Look, we even have an OpenID module made by Sergio from Spain and Kevin, Pinpoint Towns that made the ASOS modules, OpenID module to provide tokens, refresh tokens, you see navigation, Nancy module, so lots of modules, different modules.
There's been a few more questions we can probably reel off. Someone asked, are there any recommendations for a sensible number of tenants? Is there a logical limit whereby, don't go beyond that?
Well, we measured what we could have and the cost of a tenant. In Orchard, to give you some numbers, in Orchard 1, John's blog and Scott Goose blog are running on a tenant. So we have one machine in Orchard 1, an Azure instance, which is a VM on Azure website. So it has a large instance. I don't know how much cores it is.
Four.
We have
large as
4 cores. We run 800 blog tenants on Orchard 1. With this guy, we can run 5 to 10 times more tenants on Orchard Core than on Orchard 1. Okay. So I've on my machine, I ran something like 5,000 tenants, and it was taking, so the pressure is the memory, because every tenant is more memory than processor. Actually.
Are tenants lazily initialized? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So the first request.
Tenants aren't just like an array, and like we're going to end up in some for loop where it's going to grow linearly, right? Just an unlimited hash table, or what?
That's an hash table. Yeah, literally an hash table of prefixes to set of features to enable. Because all the assembly, so an application is based of modules, assemblies, they are all loaded. Okay, but the DI container and the middleware are configurations. So they're just instances of these classes which are already of the assemblies which are already loaded. So creating a new tenant is super cheap. It's just when you instantiate those classes, which are actually don't take much memory, like routing doesn't take much memory, it's a bunch of strings in memory. So unless your site is super huge, and in this case, you don't want tenants, you have a specific hosting, then it won't take much memory. For instance, an idea of space it takes is, let's say a tenant will take 5 megabytes of memory every time you start a new tenant. New tenant meaning a new MVC pipeline, a new MVC middleware, a new Razor option, a new authentication middleware and services. Okay, so 5 megabytes per tenant. That's what you should take into memory.
Okay.
That's the idea.
As always, I would just reiterate, do your own testing in your app,
because
everything we're going to give you about performance at any point is always going to be guidelines.
Yeah, this is for a CMS, but if you have like 10 modules and 100 modules, totally different story.
So there was another question about whether modules can reuse other modules. If there's like a caching module, can I reuse that inside my own module? Is that really just the dependency thing you're talking about? Like,
yeah.
Is there a concept of an internal dependency that doesn't leak? Can I have a private, or is that not a thing?
Private.
Like if I want to use the caching module but not affect your use of the caching module, like the versions could be different and things like that, or I mean, at this point we're butting up against the limits of .NET, I'm guessing.
Yes,
so.
It's just a package version.
Yeah. Okay.
And the nice thing with NuGet packages now is that, you see, I have my Orchard CMS side. I just referenced the CMS package. Tomorrow, if I push a new .1 version of the CMS, you just update and you have the new version. There is nothing. There is no magic.
But the same limits to NuGet would apply. You can't have 2 versions of the same thing in the app at the same time.
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
So like there are some limits that you hit up. Again, the platform limits that you can't get past. Okay, let's have a look. So someone asked, will we, specifically about the the CMS module, do you think we'll ever see a WYSIWYG style page editor in the browser like DNN?
Who asked the question?
That was asked by Satish8299.
Right. Like make it like Medium, your own Medium.
Yeah, add a page. You can then go in and type.
Send you a price. Let me show
you. So John, can you flip to screen, please?
So I didn't go to this part of the CMS. I showed you how to create a CMS. So this is the admin page of the default tenant. Let me remind you the default tenant. It looks like this. Okay, it's a nice website. I like it. I will host it for my company.
If you do say so yourself.
Sure. So here I go to the admin side, and let's say I want to edit the content of this page. I go to content items, and here I have 2 things. But the main thing here is this is the page here. This is the main page. I will open this file, this link. This is by clicking on this link for the main page. I can see all the content which is on the page. I can see menu items, services, projects, and at the bottom there is a preview. So I just click on preview, which opens a tab. And I will just put this tab. If I had another laptop to share my screen on, but I just have that. So side by side, this is the preview page, and this is my thing that I'm currently editing. And let's say e-commerce here, you want it second, after responsive design. Well, I will just take the first service, move it there, drop my mouse, and this is what you will see live.
Damn,
wait. Let's say you don't do responsive design. You actually provide ice.
Ice?
Yeah, you provide ice cubes.
Ice cubes.
Provide ice cubes, and you see live on the right as I'm typing. You see it.
That's neat.
And it's not like, well, it looks like what you'll have. It's exactly.
So it's not.
What
it's
you
not
have.
Inline WYSIWYG style
It's
editing, but it's live update.
It's live update. Okay. Whenever I hit a keystroke.
And is that how do you do that? Is that like Browser Link or Signalar or Magic or
Magic?
You sell your soul?
No, it's no. Signalar is useless. So what we do is actually, I'm sorry, Dan, I'm kidding. So what we do is actually, whenever we type a keystroke, this browser gets an event like using local storage. So it knows which document we want to update and sends to the server, and it's a server-side rendering. So you have exactly what you will see. It's real WYSIWYG. It's what the server will render if we had updated the content.
So you're doing the synchronization via client-side local storage?
Yes.
Okay. So how do you have to poll local storage to get that update?
No, there's
an eventing system?
Event, yeah.
Oh, so you don't have to rely on a server-based eventing. Nope. Well, that's kind of cool. So did everyone get that? Like, because these 2 browsers are both running in the same domain space, they can share a local storage space. So that the JavaScript
because they're in development mode, so they're using HTML5 local storage.
Yes, right. And so the JavaScript on the right-hand side window can be alerted when the JavaScript on the left-hand side window touches something in local storage, and then the right-hand side can just refresh from the server. It can just
RPC via local storage.
Pretty much.
And that works well. I will show you another example after. You will be blown away. You
want to re-implement ecom on this.
And look at that, the editor, the designer, they can see, oh, I want to see how it looks like in a phone. And yeah, you can just change that.
That's pretty cool.
Let me give you something
cool.
else. Like you see, I have a team here.
Yeah.
I have a team. Where is my team? Where is my team? Here. Let me go back up. My team. But this is not my actual team. I want to add Scott on it. Can I, Scott? Can I add you?
Of course. I would love to be on your team.
Oh, that's nice. So let me.
Do you have to delete someone in order to make space for Scott?
I can't. No, I will remove Diana. I will remove Diana. I will put Scott. Okay. Scott Hansel.
Sorry, Diana.
Okay. Good. Lead developer, fine. But I need to change your picture. Let me change your picture. So I will remove this one, and I will add a new one. So I have the media management thing here, and I can browse my media, and I have a team folder. I don't have Scott, so I will add Scott. Actually, I have you already. I prepared the demo. Oh my God, it's too beautiful. So
you counted on me saying yes. I was going to say no and mess up the demo.
It could have got awkward if you said no.
It was going to be interesting.
You've been in downloads. I put you in downloads. Sorry.
Downloads. Yeah.
You are here. So
there he is.
So, and it's funny because yesterday you mentioned that in your live thing. So I will take you and drag you there.
Just a segue, Scott. You need to get a new bio.
I select you. I
exactly like that. Fresh and clean. My son is like, "You're so fat."
Do you see that, or do you want me to do it again?
No, I saw it. You drag and dropped it from one browser into the other.
It's there.
Wow.
And it's not. It's saved. So it's like virtual thing that will be rendered. I can then save a draft or publish it publicly, and it's done.
Very nice.
Now let me show you the demo of the demo. The best demo ever.
I was feeling the demo of the demo was what was missing.
So let me show you. So this is I'm just editing the content, okay? And like this timeline is defined in a template, and okay, but I want to change that. I don't want my names to be there. Or,
Can you type HTML directly into like the body of one of these things,
so
or does it all get encoded?
Damien, I will show you. Well, it depends on what you
love the way
here. In this case, this is encoded.
Damien, you're just doing fine, sweetie. You're doing fine.
So let me click on templates now. I've done design, and I will go on templates. Okay, because I want to change how it looks like actually, because I want to change the template of this thing. I will go on templates, and we have one template that has been defined when we set up the site for the template for the content of type landing page, which is actually this thing. So I will close this preview. I will edit this template. I lost all my changes because I didn't save. That's bad. And here you can see there is a template. It's called it's HTML, but with liquid templating.
Look at that.
If you know Shopify or Jekyll, this is something. So you see site.site name. Let me go at the bottom as usual and click on the preview and take this tab on the right. So same thing as what I just showed you. But now the demo here, this is the thing which is, where was that? This is my menu, content items. Where is my site name? That's the hard thing now, to find the stuff in there. Here, you see site.site name in the link, page top, that's this thing. So now if I say demo for ASP.NET, I'm changing the template. I'm not changing the content, I'm changing the template. Damien, tell me, can you do that with Razor?
Of course you can.
How long would I have to wait every time I hit a keystroke?
Oh, Razor changes are instant. CS changes take forever. That's
You
what
have to recompile.
Razor's for
You updated the Razor and you pushed it to the ground, and
it's not Razor. He's not using Razor.
Oh,
So
it's
why
Mustache.
Very important. No, well,
Liquid.
kind of.
Liquid.
Mustache plus plus is the evolution of Mustache. It's liquid. So why we can't use Razor on the server side is because you will expose anyone to any code. You can do anything you want with Razor.
Gotcha.
C#. So you
Clever.
don't want to do that.
Clever.
Liquid is safe, and it's interpreted in this case. So you don't have to compile anything. So every keystroke, I can regenerate that without any much cost as Razor. It's not as fast as Razor when it's compiled. But you saw the response time here. And let me now do something else. Now I will update let's say this thing. I don't like how it's displayed. Oh, I will go up because it will be easier for me. Services. So I will go up to services, and I will look where my services are managed. And you can see here, I have a loop. Content item, content services, content items, size 0. Okay, if I have services, we do this loop. And now e-commerce here, which is title here, I can do service colon. And you can see here, every block has the change.
I sense Scott has a thought forming.
Well, no, I'm just feeling bad that you gave him crap about his obj folder.
H1.
Wait, what?
Because if this is what if I have to accept an obj folder, which is still a huge problem, But I get this. I'm willing to accept that.
I was much more concerned about the warning triangle on the dependencies.
The warning triangle is a problem as well, but still, this is pretty sweet.
This is amazing. I mean, this is just an incredibly.
Did you know any of this existed? How up to date were you on the latest?
I had an inkling. I think I'd seen some of this before.
I heard rumors in the streets.
It's very nice. All I can think is that we should be getting Seb into more conferences to show this demo. It's very cool.
There are many more things I could show you.
It's very cool.
We don't have time.
Yeah, no, this is great.
Okay, so let's be very specific. Open up a new browser window, Seb. John, focus on Seb. Tell us where people go. I see that you're using a competitive search engine, Seb.
Nope.
What's going on your review? Where do people go to get involved and check this out?
So get involved Orchard Core, Orchard CMS, Orchard Core, and GitHub. We have a Gitter chat, and all the community is there to ask questions, to answer questions, to exchange, to give ideas. And if you want to build modules or to build features, you just come there and we'll assign you some stuff to do, or just answer your questions. And yeah, everything is there.
A couple of questions. Well, one question in particular that someone is asking that I think is a very good one. How would you go about integrating some spa-ish type functionality into an app built on Orchard? If I wanted to use a web component that was a calendar picker or a Vue.js module, how do we have a good story for that today?
Maybe the Frenchman could explain what the Australian just said. Spa-ish?
Spa-like, yes.
Yeah. So when we build this template, we try to make a single page template because people like website with single page. You can embed any JavaScript you want in the template. You can embed the scripts you want in the template, or you can build a module that will just have an HTML file and serve it, because modules serve content files and serve JavaScript files. So an app could be just a module.
Can literally be a spa app that is packaged as an Orchard module.
Or a module or not. If you don't want to package it as a module, it could be part of the main app, host app.
I see.
Either you want to create a module or a host app.
So in other words, it's pretty much orthogonal. Like it's not really opinionated.
The answer to that question is whatever you would answer to an ASP.NET Core developer, I will do the same answer. So I will ask you the question.
That's cool.
Well, we actually have a specific template for spas.
But you're saying that there's nothing about Orchard Core that competes with what the person might already want to do.
Exactly. And because templates, I hate templates.
Well, like for example, Maria on our team was asking whether she should do React or Vue, and we didn't really have a good answer because it's like depends on what you're doing. Does Orchard Core care if Maria uses React or Vue?
Not at all. And actually, people ask us a question all the time, and they want us to decide, because when we are in an ecosystem, it's better for all of us to use the same technology. But what we decided is not to decide. So any module can decide to use what they want, because we don't want to be closed to anyone who knows only React, knows only Vue, and say, you can't work with
come and use only Ember. Yeah.
So for instance, you saw the media page I showed you. It's a Vue.js page. So this component, the media asset management, we can reuse everywhere in the admin in many places.
Nice.
And yeah.
Very cool.
Wow.
So why I don't like templates? With modules, you can say disable template.
But Seb, my customers like templates.
That's I'm my customers, they like modules.
That's good. That's good. Having both is
all
fine.
the things you want.
It's all good.
You can create templates of modules. Boom.
So we have been going for over an hour now. I just wanted to mention one thing that's happened in the last week. So we all know the journey of how we made Kestrel fast, right? That's a few years in now. We are now looking at data access in .NET as well. So we're basically, I think Fowler tweeted it a couple of days ago that the data access stack in .NET is getting the Kestrel treatment. We have a working group set up, which includes folks from a whole bunch of different teams. And we are currently at the very early investigative phase around figuring out how do we make the .NET data access tests on things like Tech and Power more competitive. I think it's fair to say that the ASP.NET Core tests on Tech and Power are now competitive. When you look at plain text, the two variants we have, when you look at the micro benchmark variant and the full framework variant, we are competitive. When compared to other like in those categories. We don't have a platform entry yet for plain text, but we are investigating doing that. Platform basically means just have a server and then just write some code that talks directly to the server without primitives for doing nice things. But you can get extremely fast doing that because you don't have a lot of the nicety. So we have some variants of that. that we've been experimenting with that get incredible results that we're looking at. We're doing the same for JSON, but the data access tests currently, we drop out of the competitive category very, very quickly. We're nowhere near competitive. And so we want to fix that. And so
is that because EF is a bigger ORM and appropriate for ORME stuff, and we need to use
not at all.
Dapper?
Not at, no. I didn't say EF at all. I said data access.
Oh, data access. So it's not that.
We have 3 variants. So in Tech and Power, we have for every data test, from the most complicated being Fortunes, which does other stuff as well, through to the most simple single query, we submit 3 variants. We have one that uses Entity Framework, we have one that uses ADO.NET Raw, and we have one that uses Dapper, the popular micro ORM, which is really just a thin layer on top of ADO.NET. And the EF one is slower, don't get us wrong, but the raw ADO.NET one is nowhere near competitive with other stacks like the Java stacks and those type of things. Indeed, what you'll see in a lot of the tests is no matter what variant you have, whether it's the raw ADO.NET, the Dapper, or the EF, the results simply cluster. They all get bottlenecked at the same point. As you add more concurrency, they all bottleneck together, and it doesn't matter what you do, they can never get any faster. So it is not EF that's making your data access slow, because it doesn't, when you get to a certain point. And when I mean slow is a relative term, right? We're talking about benchmarking here. We're trying to like get as fast as you possibly can. No real apps are doing those type of things, but we want to make it, latency is still a real thing. You want to make it as low as possible. You want to reduce memory use. You want to reduce CPU. We know the benefits, the real world benefits that apps see when we target benchmarks like Tech and Power, because it forces you to reduce jitter, as in like variance or noise in results caused to things like memory allocations, caused by things like latency stalls and those type of things. So we fix those things by doing that. Here's an example of, this is public. People can go and see this graph. This is updated automatically from every commit that we make. It's aka.ms/ASP.NET/benchmarks will get you to this view. This is the Fortunes test from Tech and Power running on our hardware. Okay, so this is particularly running in Azure, I believe. This is the cloud scenario. Yep. And so you can see the variants across the top. We have ASP.NET Core middleware Dapper, ASP.NET Core middleware EF, ASP.NET Core middleware Raw, and then MVC Dapper, MVC EF, and MVC Raw. And you can see that it doesn't really matter what framework you use. You're not really seeing a massive difference. So the absolute numbers on the left are pretty low compared to the competitors in Tech and Power. And so we're trying to fix this problem. You can see EF had a massive regression. This is running off our dev branch. This is not like 2.0 release bits. This is beyond 2.0. We had a regression there, which has since been fixed, and we've got a bunch of perf back. You can see where the line is right now. Everything got faster after that point, including the raw access. We don't actually know why. We haven't figured that out yet, but it got faster, which is good. You know why? What was it?
Changes.
Oh, that's Andrew's changes?
Yeah,
wow. Okay. Well, there you go.
Can you say that AKA.ms link again?
So aka.ms/ASP.NET/benchmarks. And so anyway, we have literally started a working group looking at this. It's about a week old. It's staffed by folks from different teams. We met yesterday. We are going to start tracking this in a GitHub repository, because when we tweeted this, a lot of folks in the community are interested in getting involved and helping out, including the folks who own the SQLite driver for .NET, the gentleman who owns the Postgres driver for .NET MPG SQL, which is what we're starting with, by the way, because Tech and Power is all on Linux, and they predominantly use Postgres and MySQL for the tests. And so we're looking at the full stack. Right now, I think the task we're doing is, let's write a C# console app that doesn't use ADO.NET. It p-invokes into the native driver for Postgres and see how fast we can make it go. Right, let's just bypass the entire stack, but still use .NET. So we know that the VM and stuff is still involved in the process, but we're not going through the ADO.NET stack. We're trying to figure out where this common gap is. Is it in ADO.NET, the object model? Is it in some parts of ADO.NET, but not all of it? Is it in the particular database driver that we're using? Is it in its implementation? Is it something else? Is it the networking stack that all the database drivers share? Is it some weird combination of those things? Like we're giving it the causal treatment, right? And so that includes top-down sort of profiling approaches versus bottom-up. Let's just hack things out and test theories that we can do quickly. So yeah, it's exciting. I'm really looking forward to giving it that treatment with a whole bunch of different people from different walks of life and different teams, and getting to the bottom of making this as fast as it has to be. And I will say that at this point, nothing is off the table. Like if we're going to go where the data takes us. If the data ultimately suggests that the ADO.NET object model is missing some API surface that is preventing us from making it this fast, then we will look at adding that API surface. Et cetera, et cetera. Just like we did with Kestrel. Kestrel, when we shipped it originally, didn't use the networking stack in .NET for a number of different reasons. That has since improved dramatically, and we're looking at making Kestrel use network stack in .NET by default in some version moving forward. It is available as a package right now. You can opt in to the sockets transport for Kestrel. It's not quite as fast as libuv for the benchmarking scenarios yet, but we're working actively on it. But it's very, very close, and so it's all good.
Cool.
All right.
Is it time for the dramatic zoom out?
I think we have taken these good people. They've taken enough of their time today.
Excellent.
Okay, so you click on him.
I can't remember what button it was. I think it's number 2. Ready? You ready? You locked in? We locked in? We locked in?
Locked in. Present to everyone.
Sure.
It's your thing. Do your thing.
Dramatic zoom out. It's so dramatic. Ooh, it even like did a little pan.